He told her, "I think someone took her very quietly, tiptoed down the basement, and then maybe took a knife out." And then he does a stabbing motion. And then he says, "Or maybe a hammer hit her on the head. Maybe." And he does the motion again. Hey everyone, I hope you all had an amazing holiday, whatever you celebrate. As you can tell by the title, today we're going to be talking about the JonBenet Ramsey case that started 24 years ago today. On December 26, 1996, dispatch received a frantic phone call from Patsy Ramsey saying that her daughter, JonBenet, had been kidnapped and she had found a ransom note. Immediately, the dispatch operator felt something was wrong and that this phone call felt staged. Before Patsy Ramsey hung up, it appeared to the dispatcher that there were other people in the room talking. This recorded conversation is very muffled, so it has been debated by law enforcement and true crimers like ourselves what was actually said. CBS did a documentary on this case and they enhanced the audio 20 years later. It appeared an older male, possibly John Ramsey, the father of JonBenet, was talking to a child saying, "We're not speaking to you," while Patsy Ramsey might be saying, "Help me, Jesus." Then you can hear a small child, most likely Burke, JonBenet's 9-year-old brother, asking, "What did you find?" While I don't think we'll ever know what the context of this muffled conversation is, it doesn't look good for the Ramseys. Investigators arrive within 8 minutes, and the first thing they notice is the ransom note. Here's the ransom note, and prepare yourself because it is long. "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is anyway marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. This note was over 2.5 pages long. Immediately, it stood out to investigators that this note was staged due to its length. Now, if you know this case, you know that the specific number of $118,000 is important because that is the exact amount of money John was going to receive for his bonus that year. Now, these parents were extremely wealthy, millionaires with multiple homes in different states, owned 2 planes and a yacht. Why would they ask for only $118,000? Later on, it was also found out that the paper the ransom note was written on actually belonged to Patsy Ramsey, and that the author rewrote the letter twice based on the imprint in the notepad. Well, one thing that Burke Ramsey actually told Dr. Phil was that Patsy would always make me rewrite stuff to have good handwriting. Maybe Patsy was taking a word of her own advice, but to make the handwriting appear not to be hers, although she didn't do a great job at that. Handwriting analysis actually found that there were some possible matches to the writing in the ransom note and Patsy's handwriting. By 1 p.m., police start to search the home from top to bottom, starting at the top. Once John Ramsey, the father, heard this plan, he immediately went to the basement with a friend. In the basement, he found JonBenet dead inside a blanket with a piece of tape over her mouth and a rope over her wrists. He takes the 2 pieces of evidence off her body, picks her up, and brings her upstairs to police. Immediately, investigators begin to panic. Not only had the body been moved, disturbing the crime scene, but people had been walking through the house for over 7 hours at this point. The crime scene was completely contaminated. In the basement, they found that the window was open and broken, but John actually broke the window previously because he lost his keys. Still, the window was open when it shouldn't have been. They also found 2 important items that we'll get into in just a moment: a bowl full of pineapple and a flashlight on the kitchen counter. JonBenet's autopsy reports that her cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with cranial cerebral trauma. So basically, she died because an object cut off her ability to breathe, and she was hit in the head with an unknown object. So we know the rope was the probable object that cut off her ability to breathe, but what was the unknown object? A renowned forensic pathologist actually found that the flashlight found on the kitchen counter was a perfect match to the indent in JonBenet's skull. They also found that JonBenet had a piece of pineapple in her small intestine, indicating that JonBenet had gone through a pretty long period of digestion, about 2 to 4 hours worth before she died. But here's the thing. The Ramseys had gone to a Christmas party that night, but when they returned home, they said JonBenet was asleep, so John put her to bed. To their knowledge, she had not had any pineapple that night. So it was pretty clear that JonBenet woke up in the middle of the night for her favorite snack. But the bowl of pineapple had Burke and Patsy's fingerprints on them. Patsy said that she would not have prepared this snack because the spoon inside the bowl was much larger than she would have used. So it appeared maybe Patsy had put the bowl away while doing dishes at one point, and Burke prepared it. A very large theory is that JonBenet came downstairs, took a piece of pineapple out of Burke's bowl with her fingers, and Burke got mad at her and killed her, allegedly. Burke was actually interviewed about 2 weeks after the murder because police wanted to see what he may have known. Now this gets weird for many, many reasons. First of all, the police actually released a statement that they had not interviewed the Ramseys yet because they were in no condition to be interviewed. They would not sit down with police individually until about 4 to 5 months after the murder, which is just bizarre because this would have never happened if these 2 weren't so wealthy. But why would they allow their 9-year-old son to be interviewed before them? I just feel like that's throwing him into the lion's den, but not a lion's den of police officers. They said they would only allow it if a social worker conducted the interview. Now, like I said, this interview gets weird. The social worker asks Burke if he had any secrets, and he replies, "I probably do, but I don't remember any of them. But if I did remember any, I don't think I'd tell you." When he was asked what he thought happened to JonBenet, he told her, I think someone took her very quietly, tiptoed down the basement, and then maybe took a knife out. And then he does a stabbing motion. And then he says, or maybe a hammer hit her on the head. Maybe. And he does the motion again. Here's the weird thing though. JonBenet was hit in the head, and it definitely seemed as if Burke was reenacting something, allegedly. But why would Burke hurt his sister? A friend of the Ramseys recalls that in August of 1994, she was talking to Patsy about a scar on JonBenet's eye. Patsy told her that Burke and JonBenet were playing outside one day and that he hit her with a golf club because Burke lost his temper. Another thing that was pretty weird was when crime scene investigators went into JonBenet's room, they found feces on her Christmas candy. To me, this seems like a very disgusting, jealous prank. What I would like to know is what Christmas morning was like for the siblings. Did JonBenet maybe get bigger or better gifts than Burke, and he was jealous? Recently, Burke went on the Dr. Phil show. He was asked straight up if he killed JonBenet, and he said no. In 2008, the Ramseys were ultimately ruled out after finding foreign DNA on or in JonBenet's underwear. Not only were the Ramseys looked into, but a retired homicide detective, Lou Smith, established the intruder theory. He began looking at sexual offenders in the area, finding almost 40. The window was open, which faced an alleyway, so Lou Smith believed that is how the intruders entered the home. There were multiple different suspects that were looked into, but most were ruled out based on DNA evidence from the crime scene. So that's the preview for this case, but I have a gift for you. Usually I would upload the more in-depth podcast episode on Monday to take a deeper dive into this case. But the episode is already up, so if you want to know about other theories besides the Ramseys, the mess of this investigation, the autopsy, and potential cover-ups by legal officials, head on over there. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Crime, and I'll see you next time. Bye.